to the Prophecy Club. I was about to make a broadcast basically saying that apparently a lot of hard times are about to come. And my wife and I were talking about it, and we were kind of agreeing to, according to what the prophets are now saying, it doesn't look like, it looks like Trump is gone and all of our hope for all of these arrests is also gone. I even said that Sunday. So we took a nap. I noted the time. I laid down at 2:14. And at 2:17, I woke up out of this nap and I heard. Now, I did not hear an audible voice. I didn't have a dream or a visit, an angel visit, nothing like that. Audible. So all I heard was massive arrests, massive arrests. And my wife and I have been talking about how in the world are we ever going to get this money to drill the well in Israel. And I even said to her, I said, I remember on June 14th of 2018 that I heard the audible voice of God say, Stan, I will give you the money to drill the well in Israel. Now, anytime I say that, I have to give a disclaimer, and that is we can never guarantee that we're ever going to get the money drilled for or hit oil in Israel. So anyway, we've just been discussing about how we're going to get the money to drill the well in Israel. You know, is that vision all dead and everything? So anyway, I woke up, and as I was telling her, I said, I didn't hear an audible voice this time, but I promise I heard words. I don't exactly understand how, but I heard massive arrests, massive arrests. So I want to take that as good news, and I want to take that as the 222,450 sealed indictments have not been just thrown in the trash. So I come in and I jumped on the internet and I did some research, arrests, and guess what I found? I found that there is a certain person out there by the initials of HC that the internet is alive with disclaiming that she has been arrested. I mean, there's several places saying, no, she has not been arrested. So I don't know. I'm just telling you what I do know. And I sat down to put this into a radio program, and I asked the Lord, I said, so is it okay to release this? And I was expecting a yawn, as in no. And then I wouldn't be saying this. But instead, I felt the anointing touch me, so I now have a release to tell you. Now, whatever this means, I don't know. I can tell you what I want it to mean. I want it to mean that a bunch of people, a bunch of bad guys are about to be arrested. But I promise I heard words, although they weren't audible words, but I heard massive arrests, massive arrests. So there you go. Now I'm going to go on over to the program that is originally supposed to be playing today. Welcome to the Prophecy Club. We're going to be talking about our finances today. As you recall, Shane Warren, he said in 2011, he says he was watching television and it turned into a vision of the future. He said he saw a weather broadcast appear and the anchor said, the most amazing thing is going on. I'm going to summarize this here a little bit. Normally hurricanes hit on the coastlines, but I see this hurricane all across America, coast to coast, border to border. The scene changed to a news reporter on the eye of the storm. The wind is blowing violently, and he said, this is amazing. This is not a natural storm. This isn't normal. It's raining. He says, reached down, picked up a fistful of dollars. It says, it's raining dollar bills. It's almost like they're worthless. They're worthless. It was raining worthless dollars. Now, I have on the phone with me today Terry Sacka of Cornerstone Asset Metals. He is it's 4 licenses as a financial advisor, 13 precious metals, 10 years in the precious metals business. So, Terry, how could it be that we could be seeing worthless dollars blowing in the wind, worthless as leaves?
I think that's really fascinating, Stan, that he put it that way, because when we can't really say how would that be or what could cause that. And I think we can go back to when all this thing started, just about a year ago. Conveniently, the banking system was collapsing and to the tune of hundreds and hundreds of billions in the repo market. But then all of a sudden, this Chinese virus shows up and they were able to use, or at least take advantage of it anyway, to completely shut down the global system. In doing that, governments around the world have had to print currencies and print and bail out and bail out. And in America, not only did we bail out the banks to the tune of trillions, right now the Federal Reserve is bailing out 120 billion a week. They're just going crazy on bailing out the banking system. But it's in the stimulus they just announced the other day, the $1.9 trillion stimulus they are saying for the American people. Well, that 1.9 trillion is not money we have. It's not there. They're going to print that out of thin air. And the saddest part, out of a nearly $2 trillion stimulus they're doing, only 200 billion is going to the American people. The other 1.8 trillion is literally slush fund projects that really are not going to do anything for the American people, which is shocking. But how does that happen? Is because we're printing. Because of this episode, or you could say this moment in time with the virus, they now, the global economy will not be able to recover any way pre-COVID. We're done. This whole financial system as we have it today will change. Now I know that evolves into the Great Reset and concept, but they're going to continue to print money over the next 2 years, minimum at least 7 trillion easy here in the United States. And what a lot of folks don't realize is if you add up all the money the US has ever printed, now think about this, ever printed, over 40% of it was printed in 2020 alone. I mean, that's a staggering statement. In 3 months in 2020, the US increased its deficit by more than it had during the past 5 recessions combined. And that's just in 3 months, mind you. And so now we have our Treasury Secretary and the Fed Chair Powell. He's out there buying in just 6 weeks now. He has bought more treasuries in 6 weeks than it did in 10 years combined. And then what that does is all of this money printing dilutes the dollar. It dilutes its ability to buy. And what we're starting to see now is tremendous inflation. Agriculture commodity prices are up nearly 40%. Corn and such, these prices are doubling. And then the commodity research index is up 75%. I mean, just copper alone, a simple metal, it's already at a 10-year high, and nickel is at a 6-year high. And lumber, for the first time ever in history, is $1,000 per 1,000 board foot. Now, what they're going to do is keep printing money. And it's the printing of that money out of thin air dilutes its ability to buy, and especially dilutes our savings in the future, our ability to have an inheritance to our children's children, and a standard of living we think we have, because the paper dollar is going down in value. And it's designed to crash it to zero. And I find it fascinating because here Shane Warren's talking about this, years past. It's this very action since last year that will not stop. And when I say will not stop, they will do more printing. This 2 trillion stimulus they're doing now, that's nothing. They're going to do another multi-trillion stimulus in infrastructure, which that may actually help to some extent. But they're going to continue to print and print, but it will fail by design. And when that happens within the next 2 years, now we don't know when the trigger point is going to happen, Stan. A lot of this money printing, people think that there's this euphoria in the stock market, and we'll see a big boost in the stock market. To some extent, we will. But when you start looking at the bonds and the 10-year treasury and what's happening, that's the only reason gold and silver prices are down a little bit right now, because of the 10-year treasury. But that's getting ready to collapse. And now that they're doing the stimulus, and you're going to see a big rally in gold and silver coming up, mainly because the dollar itself isn't buying us what it used to. And what I just listed on some of the commodity prices, food prices, wait until we start to see the inflation on goods and services. It's going to be extraordinary.
And there's no one in Washington now that is at the wheel, that is guiding and trying to stop a ship that is going full speed, about to crash into the pier.
As a matter of fact, what's even more shocking is they're actually steering it into the pier. This is all by design. And it goes into the Great Reset. That's a whole nother conversation, but it's by design that they need to destroy the final element of the American dollar. And no, they're not even considering. I mean, think about it. We just did $1.9 trillion stimulus package where it could have provided $6,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country. Yet they're going to give $1,400 to only certain people, and the other $1.8 trillion is just going right out the door as payoffs, kickbacks to cities. It's just going to be wasted.
Okay, so they are intentionally trying to destroy the nation, right?
The dollar, yes.
Why?
They want to usher in globally a central bank digital currency system, cashless society. China's already started. Russia started slightly. They're using China as the test pilot right now with their digital currency. because they want to get rid of cash because it is the ultimate control over the people. If you become a non-compliant and we're in a digital system, they can just turn you off like a credit card being denied
So
at
that no
dinner.
one can buy or sell, say he had the mark?
It sounds pretty creepy, but yep. Isn't that amazing? And so they want to destroy the last semblance of a currency system that we have now. And so in doing that, they're just blowing up all this money printing and taking care of their buddies and friends while we, the American people, suffer. That's why it's so vital that right now in history, we recognize that they're going to continue to do this and do it probably over the next 2 years. Our central bank probably is not ready for the digital currency for at least 3 years, but they're working on it. And so in doing that, leading us to that digital currency, they're just printing out of thin air, making it up and spending it on their wish list and not benefiting we the people.
So you're saying that the dollar is in some deep trouble and it's probably not going to recover. It's probably not going to get out of this. So the boat is heading at full speed to crash into the pier, but how much longer do we have before it hits the pier?
Well, boy, that's a tough one too, because we could see the stock market go up 20%. We could see it crash 50% right now. There are so many variables because the variables we have in front of us that we have to expect to take place. This is all the fallout. This is stuff that the media is not talking about. You're going to have major wave of bankruptcies, small business bankruptcies, bankruptcies in travel, hospitality, tourism, restaurants. Massive downsizing wave is taking place. Corporate credit ratings, you're getting into solvency versus liquidity problems type of thing. Housing and real estate in forbearance shock. There's commercial real estate, unbelievable defaults in commercial real estate.
There was a bank that is on the same parking lot with the racquetball place, and there was always like 4 or 5 cars, just enough out there for their employees. But I noticed 4 or 5 months ago that all of a sudden now there's 6, there's 10, there's 15. And then one day I saw a car carrier there loading them up, and the next day I saw another car carrier loading them up. And I was just there here a couple of days ago, and there's close to 40 cars sitting out there. No license plates. Some of them are all dinged up and beat up. And obviously what is happening is mass repossessions of cars. Now, if it's happening at that bank, it's happening at almost every bank all across America. So we're seeing mass repos of cars, and I know that to be a fact. I can see that. What is happening with all the other things? And that's what you're saying, right? In other words, really, the crash of the dollar is in progress now.
Yes, and commercial real estate's really big. You're seeing millions of people that are teetering on foreclosure, millions of people that are teetering on eviction. And these are things that are very real to the American people. And yet in the 1.9 trillion stimulus bill, only 200 billion goes to help the people. It's astounding that they're doing this. So it's that money printing and all of these issues that are getting ready to come like a tidal wave, these bankruptcies and defaults, they're going to have to continue to print more money to help subsidize or try to offset the impact of that. As they keep printing this money, the dollar will eventually just collapse in value. And it's exactly what Shane Warren saw coming, because they're not stopping it. You cannot. A lot of people think, oh, we'll get through this. We will, but we will get through it at the tail end when it converts into a central bank digital currency. Our system is cashless, and we're in serious trouble with, dictatorship and tyranny.
Okay, let's talk about that cashless part of it. Of course, Revelation 13 says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, receive a mark on the right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Meaning, for that to happen, they have to be able to control every purchase, every sale around the globe, and get in the middle between the purchaser and the seller. And the only way I can think of doing that is having a global digital system, which, of course, finalwakeupcall.info has talked about with the quantum financial computer. Your comment?
Yes, absolutely. What they'll end up doing is having central banks around the world use their own digital currency, and then those digital currencies are going to come together under one global digital currency system. And what's going to be unique about it, not get too deep in the rabbit hole of that patent in the International Patent Office, WO 2020 060606 Alpha 1, where the technology is it already in place where it will be inserted into the human body of some form, I guess a nanochip, and it will integrate with our cell phones, 5G technology cell phones. And in doing that, they will literally have 100% control over what we're buying, where we're going, who we're seeing, and what we're doing. And that's what everyone's seeing happen. Now, we could almost call that the mark. I think personally it's going to be extremely close. Now, when that chip comes in place to the human body, the patent talks about how it interacts with the human body and digital money. So how that's going to be done, we're not sure. My guess, it's a nanochip. But that is very, very real, and it's already being implemented in China. And they're attaching in China already facial recognition, biometrics to every single cell phone, to every person, to the money.
Yes, I've got several emails that where people are trying to say that there is a nanochip inside the vaccine. I have not researched it and probably won't research it enough. And I'm not a doctor. That's medical. That's not my thing. So maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But as I look at it, the current cell phone could be upgraded to the next generation cell phone so that the surface, both the front and the back surface, is always reading our fingerprints. The camera is always on, reading our facial recognition. And the microphone is always on, so it's always detecting the fingerprints, the face, and the voice of those people using the phone. So it wouldn't really, in my opinion, have to have some kind of a computer chip into the person. And Ken Peters in his dream said he saw no computer chip. He only saw people get the tattoo in the right hand of the forehead.
They're doing it right now in China. Russia is getting ready to start. We're not ready in the Western world, I'd say about 2-3 years. In the meantime, over the next 2 years, they're going to continue to print money. But the problem with printing trillions and trillions of money out of thin air is you have a thing called diminishing return. There was a time when we could print a dollar out of thin air and get a dollar value for the government, and it would stimulate the economy. Today, we print a dollar and we barely even get a penny's worth of value. It literally isn't doing anything. The diminishing return is there. We are getting ready to cross over into an epic collapse of dollar currency value as they continue to print to try to bail it out and save it. But it's not designed to do that. They're going to, over the next 2 years, eventually end up collapsing the system, the dollar, to usher in the new currency. The problem is right now, right this very minute, we're at an epic decision as a people, as we the people, because we're watching this in real time. The fact they did a $2 trillion stimulus and they're bailing out the banks at just trillions a year should tell us that that paper dollar we're holding is going to lose tremendous value, literally on its way down towards zero. And I think that's where all this comes in, where Shane Warren's talking about. And that's why silver to me is so important. Most of these other metals are so expensive. They've all increased dramatically. Silver's been manipulated because the supply chain is in trouble. And they're facing the delivery of almost 100 million ounces in the futures market they don't have. So they had to go into the SLV and steal their silver, or they called it borrow. But the physical silver is not there. So eventually what we're going to see is the physical silver, as it gets the quality of it and the quantity of it as it diminishes, the value will just explode because it'll be just pure supply demand. It'll overrun the manipulation.
Well, that's another thing that Shane Warren saw. He said he heard the audible voice of God say that silver is going to skyrocket far more than gold. Now, I have to give you a disclaimer. We're not telling you to go and buy anything. We're not giving any financial advice. We're simply discussing Bible prophecy. Now, if a listener doesn't want to lose their wherewithal, their holdings, their wealth, if they don't want to lose that, you're saying silver is one of the best things to do then?
Yeah, it's the sleeper. Right now, we're getting ready to set up. The 10-year Treasury has been forcing the prices down, which is really just a gift. But gold is going to start making a rally towards 2,300, which is going to be a really nice move. It'll be about a 30% move. In the same time frame, silver going to the high of 50 will be a 100% move from here. So there's just a real difference of value and return on the investment to hold physical silver. And I think it really goes back to Job 27 when he says the wicked pile up silver like dust, but in the end is distributed to the innocent because they're no longer hoarding the physical silver, they're hoarding these fiat currency notes. And as this fiat currency collapses, silver will skyrocket in value only because the supply and the demand will be warped. The demand is ferocious right now, and they don't have the supply to meet that. Right now, they don't. It's very, very difficult, and it's getting complicated out there, Stan. Right now, to find certain product, you just can't get it.
So let me go back to my boat analogy. So the boat is heading high speed, is heading toward the dock, and you're saying it doesn't have too long before it's going to smash into the dock. Somebody is saying, well, I want to grab a parachute. I want to grab some kind of a hang glider or something to get me from the boat over safely to the land. And you're sort of saying that silver is that best kind of a hang glider. Okay, so tell us about the silver.
Yeah, because it's liquid. One thing nice about silver is you can always buy and sell it, whereas land and other tangible assets are not as easy to sell. And because the demand is so strong right now, the supply being so tight that eventually there's going to be a rubber band snap and we're going to start to see a major rally. And we're just going to get a bigger bang for the dollar bill that we exchange. It's very important, especially in these retirement accounts where a lot of folks are in the stock market and they're hoping to get another 20% increase where you could be seeing 100% in silver, where you can roll over portions of that IRA into physical silver and actually own the real physical, not paper. Right now in history, it is extremely important to actually own physical, real assets you can put your hands on, because I believe the paper system getting ready to usher in this global digital system is going to implode. And so a lot of assets on paper will all of a sudden lose tremendous value out of nowhere.
So a person gets a bunch of silver. A month or two down the road, they need to sell that silver. It's in some kind of a great problem in their life. How do they go about getting their money back out of the silver, and is that easy?
It's very easy. If you want to, you can do it locally at any type of coin store, or you just really go back to the source. At Cornerstone Asset Metals, we will always buy that silver back. And so once you ship it back to us, we could then lock you in and then wire you the funds or send you a check for the currency you need. Because we have people do it all the time. And you would think everybody would be buying right now, but there's still people that sell from time to time, just like what you said. Things in their life happen, and so they sell some of the silver. I just had a lady, for instance, sell a major chunk of silver because she was buying a house. And she had a pretty big inheritance that she put in silver in a vault, but she sold some of it just so she could buy this house in Tennessee. And I said, no, that's really smart, because you're exchanging for another tangible asset. The nice part about silver is it's extremely liquid, meaning you can buy and sell it very easy, and it will have value always. And that's the asset value there, because land is beautiful, but yet land is not always easy to sell. And so there's other tangible assets too, other metals. But most of the other metals, everything from copper, rhodium on, they're all extremely overvalued. Well, I wouldn't say overvalued, but they've already begun the inflationary process, let alone like corn. I mean, corn prices are doubling and soybeans are doubling, and they have already begun the massive inflation. Wait until we see the food prices going up. When you hold physical silver, sometimes people look at it as I'm going to profit from it. And yes, you will. But what it really will do is sustain your buying power. It'll allow you to still pay 50 cents for a gallon of gas instead of $4. Because as the silver price goes up and you resell it for more currency than you bought it for, you were able to continue buying these goods and services at a cheaper price. So you just kind of look at it that way. It maintains your ability to have a standard of living you're hoping for.
Well, is there a possibility that it's gone down and we actually lost money on the silver?
If at the time you sold it and it was down, yeah, just like anything else, just like house values, just like anything that goes up and down, these prices definitely move. They go up, they come down, they go up, they come down. If the timing was like that, yeah, you could actually register a loss. If you're doing it for a certain period of time, if it's midterm, like I'm talking over the next 1, 2 years, 3 years holding this, you're going to see tremendous return on that investment because of what's being designed in the economy, all the money printing and the collapsing of the currencies. And this, they cannot stop, Stan. There's a lot of people think everything's just going to be okay. Unfortunately, it is going to be, well, it will be okay for us in the kingdom. The way I look at it, we're on fire in Jesus, man. He'll be the lamp unto our feet, and I'm all good with that part of it. But we better heed the warning from the watchmen that see this stuff coming, because it's by design. And if we're not on the right side of the fence, we will lose tremendous amount of our wealth. Yet if we're on the right side, we would actually transfer that wealth. So instead of losing it, it'll come to us as silver prices rise.
Okay, now let me also give a disclaimer here. We cannot guarantee any in terms of profits, okay? So this is not a financial probe. We're just talking Bible prophecy. Since you offer gold, silver, rhodium, and palladium, why is it that silver seems to be better than the other three?
Well, because a lot of, especially rhodium and the others, they're just extremely expensive. I mean, even palladium, they both started at just a few $100s, and now rhodium's like 25,000 and palladium's like 2,500. They've already had tremendous value increases. Silver, because of the manipulation, because of the massive industrial demand for silver as well. I mean, we need silver in everything from solar cells to technology, cell phones, computers, everything. Medical, the hospitals need silver. The supply's not there. We barely have maybe 1 billion ounces in the world of physical silver, and yet we're consuming it rapidly. So silver has the better return on the investment at the price it is now. I'm thankful that it's being manipulated and held down a little bit. I really am. I think it gives more people an opportunity to accumulate before this whole thing blows up. Because you're right, it's not about a guarantee. It's not about saying, hey, here's a profit. That's not at all what even Cornerstone always talked about. It was the fact that we knew there was a wealth transfer coming. There was a shift that was taking place. And when people like Shane Warren and them said it, I go, I know. Like, I know what you're talking about, because I'm an analyst in the system, and I can see it coming. And now with this $2 trillion stimulus they just passed, that's just the beginning. Wait until you see what they're going to do over the next 2 years. As they continue to do that, that paper dollar will lose so much value, literally down to almost near zero eventually, before they convert it to a new currency. It's during that cycle phase is why we're going to see gold and silver go so high.
If they want to reach you, how do they go about reaching you?
Go to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. I know on your website there's a banner there as well for Cornerstone that can link them to it. I would also call, at 888-747-3309. They can talk to a representative, especially when it deals with IRAs, because sometimes that gets complicated. But we have tremendous on-fire spiritual professionals. We all went to Bible school together, so it's a pretty good team. But they can guide you through some of those decisions and how to approach it, because I think protecting these assets now not only benefits us individually as that wealth transfer takes place in the future, but then we have resources. And this is where God downloaded me when this whole thing started, when the dreams happened and he said, get my people ready. It wasn't so that we can actually sit around eating filet mignon and being happy while everybody's suffering. It's that we will have resources in the church to then support the ministries, support those around us. And they're going to say, well, how are you doing so well? And we can then open up the door to the gospel.
Okay, Terry Sacka, thank you for being on Prophecy Club. We'll have to have you back again. Okay, my brothers and sisters, if you're looking for precious metals, you can call 888-747-3309 or go to cornerstoneassetmetals.com, cornerstoneassetmetals.com, and mention Prophecy Club when you call, and it helps your Prophecy Club. When a nuclear device goes off, it produces an EMP electromagnetic pulse, and it fries every computer chip unless they're protected. The good news is EMPshield.com has devices a military testing facility says are 100% accurate to protect against EMP, solar flares, lightning, power surges, backed by a 10-year warranty and a $25,000 insurance policy. And they come with simple installation instructions for home, vehicles, RV, and electric generators. You can have electricity in a blackout. EMPshield.com. Use the promo code PROPHECY for a $50 gift card. This helps Prophecy Club. That's EMPshield.com, promo code PROPHECY for a $50 gift card. EMPshield.com. EMPshield.com.